140 feet. That's how much farther people with seriously impaired leg circulation could walk after 6 months of drinking a specific kitchen beverage 3 times a day. The drink is cocoa, not hot chocolate mix, not anything from a packet labeled Swiss Miss. Specifically, natural unsweetened cocoa powder. And the difference between that and what most people have in their cupboard is the difference between a clinical result and no result at all. Here's what this video covers. What's actually happening to circulation in your legs after 65, why cocoa works on it at 3 separate biological levels, and exactly which kind to use and how. No vague, add this to your diet advice, just the mechanism and the specifics. Let's start with what's actually going on in the legs. Your arteries are lined with a thin layer of cells that produce nitric oxide, a molecule that signals the arterial walls to relax and widen. When those walls relax, blood moves efficiently down into the legs, feet, and extremities. After 65, that system starts to degrade. Nitric oxide production drops. The arteries become stiffer and less responsive. Blood flow to the legs decreases, and the muscles in your calves and thighs start receiving less oxygen than they need to function well. The downstream effects are exactly what you'd expect. Legs that fatigue faster than they used to, not dramatically, just noticeably. Calf cramps that show up at night. Feet that take longer to warm up in the morning. And that odd heaviness when you stand up after sitting for a while. The feeling that your legs need a moment to catch up with the rest of you. None of this is mysterious once you understand what's happening. The blood supply to the legs is running short of what the legs need. Peripheral artery disease, PAD, is the clinical name for when this progresses to significant arterial blockage. About 15 to 20% of adults over 65 have it. That's roughly 1 in 6. And the majority don't know because it develops gradually enough that most people adapt without realizing they're adapting. They start taking shorter walks, then routes without hills because those feel manageable. They sit more, and the things they used to do without thinking, they quietly file those away under getting older and move on. Longer term, this matters well beyond the legs. People with significant PAD have 2 to 3 times higher risk of cardiovascular events, heart attack, stroke, than people without it. The leg circulation problem is a window into the broader arterial system. Treatment options have historically been limited. Exercise, walking through the discomfort, is the current gold standard, and it works, but it's painful, and most people don't stick with it. There are very few other effective interventions, and then researchers at Northwestern University ran a clinical trial on cocoa. Northwestern University. 44 older adults, all of them with significant PAD, split into 2 groups and given identical-looking beverages to drink 3 times a day for 6 months. One group got flavanol-rich cocoa, the other got a placebo with no active compounds. At the end of 6 months, researchers measured how far each group could walk in 6 minutes and used MRI to look at blood flow directly in the calves. The cocoa group walked an average of 140 feet farther than they had at the start. The placebo group walked 80 feet less. That's a gap of 220 feet between the 2 groups, from a drink. The lead researcher said the degree of improvement was significant and meaningful, and comparable to the benefits of supervised exercise therapy, which is currently the only treatment medicine has for this condition. Now, the mechanism matters here because it explains why the effect was as large as it was. Cocoa flavanols work on the circulation problem from 3 directions at once. The first is nitric oxide, the same signal we just talked about. Flavanols increase its production in the blood vessel walls, which relaxes the arteries and lets more blood through. Blood flow to the calves improved by 20%, measured by MRI, not by patient report. The second is what happens in the muscle cells themselves. Flavanols increase the activity of the mitochondria, the structures inside cells that convert oxygen into usable energy. More active mitochondria means the muscles can do more with the blood they receive. And the third effect had never been shown in humans before this study. Capillary density in the calf muscles increased by 14%. New tiny blood vessels actually grew. 3 mechanisms, all at once, from one cup. I want you to think about what that means in someone's life. Not in a clinical sense, in a daily sense. There are people right now who have learned which benches exist on the route to the corner store, who have started choosing parking spots based on how far the walk to the entrance is, who have stopped suggesting a walk as an activity with a friend, with a spouse, with a grandchild, because they know they'll need to stop partway through and they don't want to explain why. They've just quietly rerouted their life around the limitation. It doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like being sensible, like adjusting. But the routes get shorter every year, and the things that require a longer walk, the farmer's market, the park, the neighborhood they used to walk through on a Sunday, those things slowly stop being options. That's what untreated circulation decline actually costs, not in any single moment. In the accumulated geography of a smaller life, the Northwestern data says that doesn't have to be the trajectory. A simple daily drink, the right kind, can reverse measurable biological damage in the circulation supplying those legs. The right kind is what most people get wrong before they even open a tin. Most commercial cocoa, including many premium-looking tins on the supermarket shelf, has been processed using something called Dutch processing or alkalization. The method was developed to make cocoa taste milder and dissolve more easily. That's good for the product. It's a serious problem for what you're after, because alkalization destroys the majority of the flavanols responsible for everything measured in the Northwestern trial. So the first thing to check is the label. You want a cocoa powder that says natural and does not say Dutch process, alkalized, or processed with alkali. If the ingredients list includes the phrase processed with alkali, that's the flag. Set it down. Now, I want to say, just look for the word natural and you're done. But let me be slightly more precise. Natural cocoa will typically be noticeably reddish brown rather than the deep chocolate brown of Dutch processed cocoa. It will taste sharper, slightly more acidic. That's the flavanol profile you're looking for. The Dutch process removes both the bitterness and the benefit at the same time. The dose in the Northwestern trial, 1 tablespoon of natural unsweetened cocoa, about 15 grams, 3 times a day, mixed with hot water or milk. 3 tablespoons total across the day. Preparation is simple. Hot water or unsweetened milk. A small amount of sweetener if you need it. The active flavanols aren't disrupted by sweetener. Hot liquid, cocoa, a mug. That's the protocol. One more piece of data worth knowing. A separate earlier pilot study gave people with PAD a single dose of dark chocolate with at least 85% cacao and measured their treadmill walking distance 2 hours later. Walking performance improved by 11% from that one dose alone. What that suggests is there may be a faster benefit that shows up well before the 6-month cumulative result. Some people report changes in leg comfort and walking endurance within weeks of starting the daily cocoa habit. Others take longer. Either way, what the long-term trial showed is that the mechanism continues building over time, regardless of what you feel in the early weeks. Stay consistent. That's what the data rewards. The underlying mechanism is fixable. Not all of it, not overnight, but the specific biological damage the research measures. Blood flow to the calf, muscle energy output, capillary density. All 3 responded to one daily habit, natural unsweetened cocoa. Check the label, 1 tablespoon 3 times a day. That's the protocol from the trial. Go find the right kind. Start this week. If this was useful, subscribe and share it. There's more like this coming.